Well, you hear us talk a lot about rotating your vegetable crops here in Oklahoma gardening. Well, the same principles apply to rotating your annual bedding plants, and for the same reasons. We rotate our crops so that we don't get a buildup of insects or of diseases in the soil. And you can get the same buildup if you plant the same bedding plants in the exact same place every year. Now, you can run into this problem fairly easily because say you have a shady spot and impatiens just go really well there. So every year you plant impatiens there. And then one year they don't seem to grow quite as well. Well, there may be several factors that go into their not thriving in that spot, but one of them is probably that they've got a buildup of insects and diseases specific to impatiens. Well, you can get around that by rotating with something like begonias, and that's what we're going to do here. This year we're going to plant begonias under this tree, but actually for good crop rotation you need to be on a 3-year crop rotation. And of course for shady things besides impatiens and begonias, it can be hard to come up with something for that shady area because a lot of things don't necessarily bloom in the shade. Well, there are actually a lot of things that you can choose from that don't necessarily have a bloom but still add a lot of color to the shade. And over here we've got several plants that have colored leaves. Down here I've got 3 different kinds of hypoestes, and you can see that we've got a lot of nice pink and green and also cream and green color here in these plants, and these will actually get to be about 1.5 feet tall and can add a lot of color to a shady spot. Also, the caladiums are a very good way to add color to a shady spot, and the nice thing about having plants with colored leaves is that you don't have to worry about them blooming because the leaves stay colored. We've also pushed the sun coleus a lot, but I just wanted to remind you that there are some wonderful colors of the old-fashioned coleus, and this is Wizard Rose Mix, and it has a lot of color that it can add to a shady spot. Well, the same thing can apply to a bed in a hot and dry location, and say you've got one of those corner beds that you put periwinkle in every year. Well, you can actually rotate out with something like lantana. You could mix the white and the purple lantana because it also likes a hot location, or you could come in with something like the pink pentas. Pentas love hot weather and they will grow very well in one of those open spots. And also, if you have a place where you say put geraniums in, you might think of putting the red pentas in because they've got this nice red bloom on them like that. And if you've got a red color scheme and you're thinking about putting something else in, you might try something like the salvia or the celosia. And you can see here these plants look fairly similar. They've got the red tops and the nice dark green foliage, and they both like the heat and everything, but you could use those in your crop rotation. So just think about rotating your bedding plants much as you would your vegetable plants, and that will ensure the success of your annual plant garden.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.